What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is September 15th of 2017. And it's time, seeing as it's Friday, for our market recap. Well, folks, let's all take a step back, wipe the sweat off our foreheads, and take a deep breath. The sell-off appears to be over, for now. Now, of course, we could do anything. We could go and rally to new highs, and the funding could be over, or we could be pulling down to the 200-day over the next few days. It might be a continued bear market, and the funding might live on. No one knows where things are going, but I will say this. For those of you who did buy down here and you're making good profit today, congratulations. We were able to time the pullback relatively decently. Now, not perfect as well. It did pull actually a little bit lower than the area that I had estimated. But again, folks, this was an amazing run up in price action for one day. For once in over 8 days, we finally had a green candle. After 7 days of sell-off, the past 2 days being quite drastic sell-off, we finally got a bounce off of 3,000. What used to be previous resistance is usually support. Wink, remember that. And then also we have support at the 100 days. So this looks very good. As I've said again, this is pretty good exuberance to come into price action. Now, the question is, though, can it hold this? That's the real question. We have to not be biased. As much as we might have bought down here, we can't say, oh, it's going to go to new highs in just a few days, and we're going to go back to the status quo of Bitcoin going up. We might still have a few more days of pullback, and we might actually maybe even lock in the price action here and continue to trend down over the next few days. It really depends if we can maintain that momentum. But I'm going to show you on the hourly before we go and recap on a lot of other cryptocurrencies. I really want to dive into Bitcoin and tell you all how I'm using the current price action and current indicators to measure the price action and really see if this is going to hold or not. So let's go down to what traders usually use. First off, I want to point out, though, is outside of the daily, for example, if we look back here, we had support on the 100-day for the past pullback in June and July. It was pretty clear. We told you, it was the 100-day was a good indicator to look for, just how it is for the 50 and the 200-day. And as we saw it come out of the 100-day, we were like, it's probably the end of the sell-off, time to buy in. And it turned out that it was, and it continued higher. But again, that alone is not enough to confirm price strength confirmation. This shows you that most likely the selling is over temporarily and it's found some common support, but we have to know that the exuberance is going to actually come in to push it to new highs. So how can we find that out? How can we find out that it's going to maintain that rebound? Well, let's use the next big thing, the hourly. And rather than just looking here and trying to use this, why don't we go back and look at how it was used in the previous pullback? Remember, history usually tends to repeat itself in markets, and this was really only 2 months ago. So again, this is very relevant. Well, what we can see here is with the sell-off, we saw pretty much a double bottom on the hourly, and the hourly came back up to the 50 hour. So of course, this is the 50 SMA, this is the 100 SMA, and the 200 SMA. And SMA stands for simple moving average. Again, we use them all the time on my channel. One of the best indicators you can use, and you can use the different measurements. The 50, 100, and 200 are my favorite. You can also use the 21 as well for momentum. For right now, though, we can see that it got, on July 17th, a pull-up above the 50-hour, and it came back down to find a bounce and support off of it and continued to rally through the 100-hour, and even went all the way through it without having to find that support, which usually does have to do sometimes. And it continued to rally through, found support on the 200-hour, held above there, and we also saw something very interesting. The 50 SMA crossing the 200 SMA. This is what's known as the golden cross in technical analysis. And once you see that, you usually can confirm, okay, the sell-off is over, let the price strength continue. Now, it doesn't guarantee it. It's not a guarantee. It's just because it's called the golden cross doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed solidified, idea. It's like, yep, okay, market's going up. Because if that was, it would have just bounced up right there. We saw it hold there for a while, didn't sell off to any drastic measure, and then it continued higher, and much higher actually. Went from about 2,300 all the way to 2,900 in just a few hours. So again, we should be looking for something relatively similar. Look to see if history is going to repeat itself. So let's go down here to the hourly, and we can see that, oh look, the moving averages are doing the exact same thing they did in the past. They're starting to dive down to meet all these past few hours of price action. What we can see here, Bitcoin is acting pretty strong right now. It had a really stellar rebound from 3,000. So if you bought down here, guys, wow, awesome. But again, we can see that it came up above the 50 SMA, and it's currently riding along there. Came up, And it currently looks like we're going to try and test to see if we can get up to the 100 SMA. Now, what's nice about this is the SMAs are in free fall. They're coming down while the price action's moving up. So we really only need to see a few hundred, maybe like $100 to $200 in price action to really see if it can get above these SMAs. As they continue to decline and the price action continues to move up over time. So it gives it a little room that it really needs to meet to really get that price strength confirmation and get above these. So again, it'll probably come up here, right along it, come up, right along it as these move down. So we'll have to wait and see, but that's how I'm playing it. I'm waiting for that. And then what I'm also waiting for is it to hold up there for a while and for this green line, the 50 SMA, to come through the red line, the 200 SMA. So we'll have to see. It definitely seems like it's got a ways to go, but at the same time, like it did in the past, they can come to close one another pretty quick, even though they're very far apart. The 50 SMA moves a lot quicker because it's the past 50 hours. It's 1/4 of what the 200 SMA needs to see. So again, it really is the indicator that I'm using. I'm trading like the professionals did back then, and I want to continue to follow what I know works in this current market. So that's what I would use. Of course, it's not a guaranteed foolproof strategy, and again, anyone who tells you they have something like that, they're lying to you. But right now, I think that's the best tool we can use. Outside of that, though, we have to come and realize that global cryptocurrencies have really had their pullback, folks. We went all the way from 178 billion down to 99 billion. We even dipped below 100 billion. Can you believe it, folks? I honestly didn't think we could do it, but it's been an awesome rally since then. If you bought in at the lows, man, some people have made some stellar profits over the past few hours. I mean, whether it be comparative to Bitcoin or USD, whatever it is. I mean, we really did a great job on this one, guys. So let's go ahead and look through some of the other coins out there that are either at a discount or ones that I'm just currently interested in watching it. As you all know, Litecoin's a big candidate. We talk about it on this channel a lot, and I'm optimistic on it in the long term. Litecoin's been doing pretty well. It's around the $48 range, and I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset for this because as much as I think Litecoin is cheap right here, Litecoin had quite a pullback last night when I was asleep. If you go here to the hourly, it had a major dip. Now, I don't know why that happened. I have still yet to figure out why it happened. But man, if you were able to buy on that dip, oh my gosh, such a good buy down there. So whoever got that, I mean, you got a steal on that. Not to mention with the Bitcoin rebound, the fact that it's been able to keep up since there, you probably made a ton of money in the sense of US dollars. So I mean, you could have bought it. It's pretty much like buying down here before the big rally. That was just fantastic. But you can see it's above the 50-day. I think everything's fine. I think that was just fudding, quite frankly, as we saw Bitcoin go into 3,000, early over the past few hours into the night. But again, I think that Litecoin is good and cheap at these levels. We can see that it's definitely sold off still since its 1,900,000 Satoshi high of the run-up. And I think that we could continue to see it go up from here. Also, you guys probably know that the price action is not there because I'm using TradingView. I'm going to start using that as they add more and more. As you can see, we have all these new cryptocurrencies that TradingView is offering. That's pretty cool. So I can do a little bit better technical analysis on this. But for now, really, in simple terms, there's not too much I can use with indicators and all kinds of chart drawings. Right now, we can see that the SMA, the 50 SMA, has provided support. The price is back up there, and we might be able to see it continue to, over the next few days, find support here and curve back up. I think Litecoin's a great candidate, so I'd watch out for it and see what it does. We also have Ripple as well. Ripple is definitely at a discount. It's under $7 billion right now. And again, what's really nice is it's held its Bitcoin comparative. It didn't really sell off. If you were holding Ripple, I mean, your Bitcoin comparative really wasn't going down that much. If we go here to the chart, we can see that it did completely fine during the sell-off. In fact, if anything, it kind of rose up a little bit over the past few days. So Ripple was one of the best hedging devices out of the large caps to compete with Bitcoin from what I saw. And quite frankly, there's a lot of optimism I'm seeing in this price action. Whereas in the initial run-up, we got shot down by the 50-day, this green line. We are now seeing that not only has the price action flattened at a big even at 5,000, it's found support, but along with that, the 50 SMA is coming under. And that is going to provide it a level of support to really give it some optimism. I've been telling you all Ripple's another. I think all the large caps right now are undervalued that are going against Bitcoin. The altcoins that are kind of the leaders in the space, the top 4 coins behind Bitcoin. I think that you're going to see some confidence come back into this, and I think Ripple could curve up with all the banking adoption that's coming into Ripple. Whether you like it morally or not, I mean, you can't argue with the price action and the adoption. There is some serious confidence going into Ripple. So again, keep an eye on it. XRP looks good at these levels, and I'm thinking about adding some myself. We can also take a quick look at Ethereum as well. I really want to emphasize something with Ethereum as we're going into Metropolis and everything. I really want to emphasize the fact that this needs to hold the 200-day. Ethereum is looking very fragile. I'm glad we got the bounce off the 200-day over here, but quite frankly, it's just holding on the 200-day right now, folks. We really got to see it hold there, get some optimism, maybe get above the 50-day. That would be nice, because if we don't, that could be a bad sign going into Metropolis. Again, price strength confirmation at the 200-day is key for Ethereum. So if you're an Ethereum long, if you're long on Ethereum, if you're holding it for either a swing trade or for the long term and stuff to hopefully see optimism comparative to Bitcoin, it needs to stay above that 200-day. Okay, definitely keep an eye on that. Next up, we've got my favorite, NEO. Yes, I know a lot of you have given me criticism because it still has yet to go up to where I originally told you all to buy it. Let's not look at it on TradingView. I actually have up the Bittrex because they just added it. So it's cool to see TradingView's adding some new ones. But going on to Bittrex, I'll still be fair, guys. It wasn't the best calling ever. I told everyone to add NEO around this range. At least that's what I was doing. But at the same time, you can see that it's holding exactly where I told you all that I want to see after we saw the sell-off. I said, hopefully, we can see a cupping action around the 500,000 Satoshi range, and we're getting that right now. So what my objective is for NEO right now is really this. We saw the first kind of blow-up candle like this, and then we've seen the pullback. Now, a cup and handle generally works like this. You have a slow kind of cupped sense of price action, curves back up to the previous high. You get a little bit of a kind of flagging in the price action, kind of slowly drops off, and then you see the rally. That's what a cup and handle is. It's a very bullish pattern. Now, of course, we're only really halfway through it. We've got to see both the ascendance back up, the little pullback, and then we'll see the rally afterwards, if that's the case, and if the funding really goes away. And I think that this is a perfect time frame over the next few days and going into October, because the funding for China is probably not going to end tomorrow night. It's going to have to go over a few weeks. So again, it's a long-term holding, folks. I never recommended to swing NEO. And if I did, it was back here. Over here, I said, no, this is an area where we start buying on dips and we wait for the long term. We don't buy up here. We buy down in this range, okay? So I think NEO's fine for the long term. And so long as, China doesn't crack down on NEO or anything, I think it's going to be okay. I think that a lot of the funding is going to go away and we'll go back to normal, and NEO will rally towards its previous highs, especially with the cheap Bitcoin right now. So definitely keep your eye on that. I still think NEO is a winner, but we'll have to give it some time. Next up, I want to look at 10x. 10x is looking very cheap right now, still sitting around the $200 million range. Really, $216 million is not much for 10x. I think 10x is one of those cryptocurrencies that in the next few months, give it some time, it's going to be one of the leading cryptocurrencies. If you're a long-term investor, these levels are extremely cheap for NEO. Not for NEO, 10x. And the reason I say that is because it's currently the leading payment solutions option in the market right now, folks. I mean, you might like Monaco, you might think Monaco's cheaper and stuff, but 10x right now has a minimal viable product. It's working. You can go out and use 10x in certain countries. I know many of my fans, my Aussie fans down in Australia, currently use 10x, and it functions perfectly. So I think it's fantastic. I think that it's a great candidate to watch. And what's nice is also they've got that on TradingView. Can you believe it? So what I really like too is the price action here. I told you all the worst case scenario if we get the serious bear market pullback is that we would find a drop down to the previous resistance and find support there, and we got to bounce off of it. And it looks like this is forming a bullish hammer right here on the daily. Now, if you don't know what a bullish hammer is, it's pretty much where the actual candle part, the wicks is very long at the bottom. You have a little bit of a wicks at the top, and you have a nice green brick candle in kind of the topper end of the candle. So it's a very common bullish pattern and a daily price candle. So if we can see that, and we see like another day or two of green, I think this really could be a confirmation on the bottom. 10x is extremely cheap right now, folks, in my opinion. But again, you got to do your research. Go watch my 10x video if you haven't. I'm really optimistic on it in the long term, and I think that it's honestly going to beat out Monaco and every other competitor in the space. It's just way too ahead of the competition. So Last thing I want to talk about is Stratus. I know a lot of you have been curious for me to cover Stratus because I haven't talked about it as much as I used to. Still very optimistic on Stratus in the long term, but I was waiting for something, and we got it last night. I'm going to show you in just a sec. But real quick, I got to say, for Stratus, honestly, 426 million, still pretty undervalued. I think that this is a cryptocurrency that could go back to seeing around 1 or 2 billion in valuation over the coming year. But they're going to have to continue to see adoption, and there's going to have to be some development coming into the Stratus framework. So definitely keep an eye on that. But for now, we saw something very nice with Stratus. This is what I told people when they were asking me on my live stream. I asked if we could just get a pullback to 100,000 Satoshis and get that price strength confirmation. Even if it meant going below the 200-day, if we could get that, I'd feel a lot more optimistic on it. And we did. We seriously got it. People who bought down there are already 20% up. That was amazing. But that's what I call playing the big evens, folks. It's still extremely cheap, and it found that support. Even through breaking the moving averages, that is a really solid sign. And right now, that's a bullish hammer right there. So definitely keep an eye on it. This is looking very nice for a long-term run-up, especially if you're a long-term investor and you're looking to add to your position on Stratus. This might be a good position to buy, or at least a price to buy. And this is something that could easily double, folks. I'm just saying, I mean, really at this current price level, around the a little bit above the 100,000 Satoshi range, it could easily get up in this range and have 100% return compared to Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin rising up, maybe, that would be a wonderful return. So we'll have to see, though. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Stratus. I wish I could have put it into my top 5 coins. I really just wasn't watching it, and then I saw, this morning that it had gone down there. So I definitely am keeping it on my radar as well, along my other coin items that I'm watching. But outside of that, folks, we have gone through a pretty serious pullback. We'll have to see if it continues. We'll have to see if Bitcoin can hold. If it can't, I'll give you guys all the updates you might need. Right now, it looks like the confidence is back in and people are buying, but we'll have to see if it can make it through the other 2 levels. Only time will tell, folks. Nothing to stress about. We've got strategy on our side rather than emotion. But anyways, after saying all that, everyone, I'd love to hear what you all think in the comments down below. Do you think we're going to continue to sell off? Do you think we're going to rally to new highs after this? Do you think the flooding is over? Or do you think that China's going to linger the flooding and more exchanges are going to shut down, whatever it may be? I'd like to hear what y'all think down in the comments down below and get a discussion going. But until then, everyone, I will see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.